obviously today I'm going to talk about why positive talk doesn't work for amputees. This could be if you've got limb loss or limb difference. And obviously, what I'm going to teach you today is how, with these simple steps, you can obviously reprogram that. So you might ask, well, where did I get the idea in the first place? So, um, so people got some context more so over on YouTube because obviously it's going to YouTube as well, being live streamed. I did a post a number of weeks ago on so I get this right the right way around, USA Facebook amputees group, about what was one word to describe how people felt about their amputation. So this divided people. So on one hand, obviously people felt empowered by it, and in the other sense, on the other side of the fence, they felt words such as "it sucks," "it's hell," and obviously, what some people believe is these people on this side of the fence are brainwashing themselves to believe that obviously everything is going smoothly and everything's going wonderful. So it's what I wanted to do with this video is to be crystal clear and be transparent of obviously I would fall along that spectrum depending on the day and or the week, depending if I can't wear the leg or not. And obviously you saw that in the video. I've trained without the leg in the gym. And then obviously one aspect of it, I'm training with it. So I can obviously see the good and the bad. But what I want to showcase to you by reframing how you view certain aspects of that situation or that circumstance will obviously help you to be able to reinforce that talk, to be giving you the affirmation to be able to persevere and keep going. So even though people have used the words such as suck, it's hell, it's an inconvenience. I had one happens to be a client, so I wanted to give them a predictive perspective on that. As yeah, I understand that particular moment in time, first thing in the morning, is inconvenient to have to put the prosthetic on the leg in this circumstance. However, if you were to look at it on the other side of the argument of looking at the rest of the day, give me that into significance, and how does that make you feel? So if that moment in time is inconvenient, but just for argument's sake, that 50% of the rest of the day is good, that's now a 50-50 split, not 100% garbage as that particular person may have seen it. Because if you view it as it's hell, it sucks, it's inconvenient, that's the moment in time. Whereas you are almost devaluing the rest of the argument of, hey, for argument's sake, that the day is amazing. Oh no, but let's oops daisy, at least it didn't explode. Let's put it back on the table. But it gives some perspective as even if it was good, to give but the other side of the coin, and you wouldn't view the negative in that way. You would view it as that self-doubt. I don't want to feel like that. I want to massively garner what this is making me feel, and I'm going to persevere. Obviously, when it's negative, people don't do that. They will focus in, laser focus. This is something that Tony Robbins talks about, of where your energy goes, your energy flows. So if I focus on the negative is more likely to happen. If I focus on the positive, obviously it's going to happen, because the universe is going to reward what I'm focusing on. So why I believe self-talk doesn't work for an amputee is because it is very divisive. And what I've gone away and learned more about is to look at maybe a neutral way of thinking. So somewhere in between, as if you take the emotion out of it, and this is taken from a book that is the forewords are by Russell Wilson. So anybody that follows American football, now a Denver Bronco. So obviously he was a Seattle Seahawk when the book was written. And for a quarterback to be able to take what has happened previously out of the equation is massive, because obviously that's the general, that's the chief. Everything flows through them, and everybody feeds off his energy. So if it's bad, obviously it's not going to help. So they have to be able to park what's happened before, say an incompletion, an interception, uh, uh, etc., etc. They've got to park it, move on, let's move forward. So by why I'm saying positive self-talk doesn't work, it doesn't, because obviously if you're only seeking out positive in things and you don't look to address the elephant in the room, that is the trigger ain't going away. And what I mean by that is, if you downplay it and let's focus on the positive in terms of it's always going well, yeah, but that thing's not going away because you don't want to deal with it. Okay, conversations I've had recently on the podcast, Christine Mayer said, obviously we shouldn't do that in the first place, because if you go into rabbit warren, the rabbits are going to come out. So you're going to putting up problems after problems after problems. So you need to be able to move forward to obviously make progress. Jeanette, thanks for jumping on. I hope you're doing well. Why have you just come up? But the help thing pop up on my screen. Silly screen. So let me digress and come back to it. Of obviously the point that I'm making is you need to keep moving forward. I can't remember where this quote comes from, but it's you just got to keep going forward, and no matter if it's affirmations, self-talk, podcasts, motivational videos, books, they're not going to help unless you do the work. So pretty much I've got, gosh, how many books in my eye line? I'm trying to do something. Be it James Clear's Atomic Habits, that's over there. Hyperfocus is on the table. They're both self-development books, but they take different projectives and where they go with it. But by actioning things inside those books, I'm going to obviously make progress. So one is habit focused, the other one is focused. That doesn't make sense. One is habit focused and the other one is focus specific, because that makes more sense in terms of how I say it out loud. But you can't have one without the other. You can't do a habit without being focused and structured and disciplined on that habit. You can't achieve a habit without having the focus, dedication, structure to implement it and make it something that happens habitually and over again. So why I say self-talk doesn't work is it's only one mechanism. The other being habit, the other one being focus. So if I focus my energy on negative things are going to happen. If I focus on that habit, it becomes a behavior. And then obviously I do actions that come in alignment with that. If I want to do something that's more progressive and be positive, I have to build a focus on doing the simple things over and over again to make it become a habit and then behavior. So I'm not saying one is bad and one is good. So coming back to the initial point of the post about how people felt about their amputation. It's a divisive question. It wasn't deliberate, but I wanted to mark a line in the sand and see where people resided in. So for the people that are on one side of the fence, be it negative, that is their viewpoint. But if they want to improve their situation, they have to do the stuff that's obviously going to be more positive and more progressive to get them out of that habit and that behavior. So that is ultimately a choice for the ones that are deemed, quote unquote, they've brainwashed themselves to think that way. I would agree with what that person said. That technically is true in the very beginning, because if you don't believe it, you have one or two choices. You fake it until you make it, and then you tell it to enough people, you start believing it because I like the sound of that, so I need to do the actions that it's going to take to do it, then to become it. And obviously, as you progress further up the chain of that, you start believing it, and you start, oh, that is me. What I'm saying is not brainwashing. I believe that, and I'm going to live it. So, in a nutshell, you're not brainwashing yourself. That's my belief. It's just you've got to reframe the way that you view certain things to be able to see a good in that. So if we come back to the client of I don't like the inconvenience of the prosthetic, I probably can believe that any amputee that's watching, be it on Facebook Live, on my profile, or on YouTube, would probably agree with that statement to some extent, be it the beginning, the middle, or the end of the day. So if you agree with that statement, put a 1 in the comments now. Because obviously I'm not going to dismiss what she said, because obviously I feel the inconvenience of it sometimes. Of life would be so much easier if I did have 2 legs. But I accept that that isn't the case, or it never would be, or it never was for me to be born that way. Let's read what Jeanette has put. Thanks for the comments, Jeanette. Exactly. Amen to that. We'll pop that up on the screen. We don't need that one. Let's see what Jeanette put. I think self-talk has kept me from jail or losing a job. And I don't know what this bit is, Jeanette. FRFR. Because self-talk is a powerful thing. If we look to utilize it in the right way, it's utilizing it to be able to put that. So Jeanette's put 1. If you put, just be honest with yourself. As have you ever felt that way in terms of it being an inconvenience? It's just being honest with yourself. I believe that self-talk, self-doubt, overwhelm all serve a purpose of learning. It's just implementing each one at a certain time. So I'm not saying affirmation, self-talk, meditation, mindfulness is going to work for everybody, because it's not. Because at the root cause of it is, do you believe in it? If the answer is no, why would you do it? Because obviously if you don't believe in something, you're not going to be consistent with it. You're not going to be doing the rep work, the work to be able to make that something that is, I won't say sacrilegious, it's not the right word, religious, that you do it without thinking, because you don't believe in it to be able to help you in the first instance. So if I come back to my initial point of people that believe their amputation to be not very good, they can't implement self-talk because they don't think it's going to work. That is their belief system right now, in the here and now. Can that change? Yes. Do they want it to change? It would be probably the big question. Because attention is quite nice. So if I can get it by making noise, people will cause me attention. Do people want challenge, heartache, adversity? No. Because it's hard. It's difficult. But so does change. change is hard, change is difficult, because by leveling up each time it becomes more difficult because you've not faced that before. And by improving, it's only going to get difficult, but it's how you respond to it. And this is not my quote, but I love it. It's determined on you want to thrive or do you want to thrive or do you want to survive? I think Ed, the hip hop preacher, is that is a choice. Do you want to succeed and do you want to persevere, or do you just want to survive? No, which one I'd rather pick in terms of I want to thrive. I know it's going to get more difficult, but by choosing to be progressive and trying to learn from whatever is trying to teach me, I'm going to progress. Thanks, Jeanette, for jumping for commenting about the for real. What I want to share. I want to share one last thing. Find it. Probably won't be able to find that's not the one. We'll have to do it for another day. What I wanted to share is one of the clips from the introduction about the commentator saying finding a weak link in the defense, and obviously in most sports, team sports specifically, you are trying to find that weak link in the armor to be able to get away and make your dominance on it. So obviously that's volleyball, to pinpoint on that specific person. And obviously he talked about finding the wing. I can't find the video, so I apologize. Let's see, Jeanette, I talk myself through my pain to keep going. What I want to, if you don't mind me utilizing you, Jeanette, is instead of talking yourself through the pain to keep going, is you need to face that pain. And my coach talks about this as, how does he describe it? I'll say facing your fears, but it's leaning. I can't remember what it is. Leaning into the flinch. So that flinch is your pain. So you need to look at why is it triggering you in a certain way, because it's not going away because you're obviously talking yourself through it. To obviously keep going. But what you need to do, and you'll make greater progress with this, and this is probably my 2 cents from this video, is you need to lean into that to be able to have a greater understanding of why do I need to resort to motivating myself or using self-talk to get myself away from pain. Obviously, most people do this anyway, of I'd rather move away from pain than facing it. Whereas if you face up to the fear and you face it face on, and you vanquish it, it's no longer there. So you don't have to talk yourself out of pushing through pain to get away from it, because obviously you're pushing away from it, but that thing's not going away. Whereas most people, Amputee or not, will do that. So instead of taking it on head on and leaning into a particular problem, struggle, challenge, or adversity, let me talk myself through it. But now you don't have a greater understanding to be able to deal with it if it was to resurface in the future in a different, I'm going to use a nursery rhyme of, the wolf in sheep's clothing. So be it, what's the name? Little Red Riding Hood. I couldn't think of what big, in terms of, she had a grandmother eating at the end of the day, but she asked questions of the wolf. And that's what you need to do. Let's see, what have you put? I do face it. I just give myself pep talks. Jeanette, you can do it. what I want to gain an understanding of from Jeanette, then from that perspective, is if you face it, but you still need to give yourself a pep talk, you've not fully vanquished it, because it's coming up every time. If you're having to give yourself a pep talk, and obviously, I talked about this. I'm going off topic a little bit now, but I talked about this on a live inside my group, and if people would like to get access to the group, and if they're not already in there, put a 2 in the comments, and obviously I can get in touch and then send you the link and then tag you in that specific training. And what we talked about in that is owning your why. So it's almost an internal fuel to obviously, it is a pep talk. So it's a burning desire that you want to accomplish. Thus, you don't have to give yourself a talking to I'm not going to name Eugene. I'm going to go, James, you can do it, because that desire is stronger than that. And I'm doing this for somebody bigger than myself. So it could be a community, it could be a non-profit, it could be for your family. It's something bigger than you. So the burning desire won't extinguish, because it's not a external motivator like, materialistic things such as getting a new car, house, things like that. So I'm going to summarize what I've discussed today again for people if they're jumping on now. Obviously, I talked about positive self-talk doesn't work for amputees because people believe that by brainwashing yourself, you're not being your authentic self. That's what I'm saying, not what somebody said. So obviously this is more layered than that, because that's obviously somebody's beliefs, their own identity has been obviously put onto you. If you want to get access to that video, put a 3 in the comments, and obviously I can send that across. Why I believe it doesn't work for amputees from a positive self-talk perspective is because it's almost like a blanket statement, as this is bad, this is good. Thus, if you're on this side of it, you are brainwashing yourself because of circumstances and what I mentioned of one particular person of being it's an inconvenience when it comes to their leg, is that's only one aspect of the day. So if you were to look at it and reframe how you looked at it, or a perspective, you would view the day completely differently, because then now that beginning of the day is inconvenient, but what is the rest of the day? So that could be 25% and the rest of the day 75% positive. Now that day is positive. But by analyzing it as human nature does to the 101 degree, we focus on the bad. Whereas when it comes to people being positive about their amputation, people view it because they aren't in that particular circumstance right now. So it's very complex in terms of why I have positive self-talk. It doesn't work because obviously positive all the time. When it does come to being a negative emotion or thought, you can't deal with it because positive, be happy all the time. It doesn't work. So what I would go and look for, and I'm going to bring up the name of the book because I'll forget. Mawad. Yeah, the book is It Takes What It Takes: How to Think Neutrally and Gain Control of Your Life, and that's by Trevor Marwad. So his last name is Moawad, and for me, I got the audiobook because I'm a bit I'm not going to use the word lazy. I like to look at more convenient things to be able to learn, because then you can go back a lot quicker. Yes, I have books that I mentioned in front of me, Hyper Focused and Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's Hyper Focused by Chris Bailey. They're both books in the front of me, but that's one aspect of a different way of learning. That book for me was obviously game changing because due to my background in sport, I'm going to gravitate more to that because it's more practical and it's more practical based than I don't know what James or Chris's background is other than psychology. And they are good books because I've used them in podcasts, I've used them in lives to be able to implement it. Thank you, Jeanette, for saying it's a awesome topic. Obviously, I need to thank the audience because you've given me the topic to talk about. So without having debate and having those questions, I can't do it. And then obviously it's big of you to be able to implement it. But the last take-home point, so this video is not 30 minutes long. I didn't expect it to be 30 minutes long, so I do apologize. Is without action, nothing happens. So just do it. It doesn't have to be a massive inroads. It could be, as Jeanette has been, obviously that's a lot of guts to be able to share that publicly of what she's dealing with. But that's action because she's willing to become uncomfortable to share and to learn and to be able to progress and move forward. And obviously, by taking on some of my, it doesn't have to be all my advice or recommendation. It could be some nugget of it. But by doing that, obviously you're taking action. So that is all I have to say on the topic today. I apologize I couldn't find the video. I'm going to make a mental note and find it. Again, if you wanted access to the, what's it called? It looking at like personal growth as it comes to an amputee, put 2 in the comments, and the one about your why, put 3 in the comments, so you have a greater understanding of what's the motivator behind it to be able to do it. Because positive self-talk is just a tool, but you need things alongside it to be able to reinforce it, to when things go wrong, you've got more of an arsenal or toolkit than just one specific tool. Because if you came to building a house, if you've only got one piece, you've only got a screwdriver, you're not going to be able to do a lot with it to be able to build. You're going to have to think outside the box to be able to have any progress. But if you had all the toolbox with it, you'll make a lot more success of building that house up from the ground up. So that's all on what I have to share today. Have a lovely Wednesday or whenever you're watching this in the future. All the best. Take care.